I've just fished book one down of Hanon, just to give you an idea of how this one starts. And if you were to choose just one of them, Hanon is more interesting. Now, the reason Hanon is more interesting is because what he does is he starts down here, so an octave below middle C for the right hand, and what he does is he progresses up with the same pattern up 2 octaves, and then he comes down with a similar pattern, so that whichever hand you were developing the strength of the finger in is swapped to the other hand, so that effectively both hands get the best of both worlds, and then you go down 2 octaves. Now, if you compare that to Schmidt, what Schmidt will do is he'll give you a bar, and he'll say to you, repeat the same bar 10, 15 times or so. So musically and audibly, it's much less interesting to do Schmidt. So if you take, for example, Hanon. So the very first exercise in a Hanon book, if I might just sort of take you back to what my very first exercise is with the majority of my pupils, certainly all of my beginner ones, is just to see if they can get a little bit of independence going in their fingers, just with starting from middle C, and you just go up in the right hand, on your thumb, and then in succession, 1 white note per finger, and you just go up one at a time. The exact same thing in the left hand, then the exact same thing, hands together, and then if they feel comfortable, repeat them and increase the speed. And funnily enough, that's very much the first exercise of Schmidt, but we're looking at Hanon now. So what Hanon does is he says, well, actually, yeah, that's all very well, but what we need to do is get used to a little bit of awkwardness. And what he does for that awkwardness is he just puts a little bit of a stretch in between these fingers here, which I don't need to tell you as a pianist, or anything, in fact. These are the awkward fingers, 4 and 5. So if you put a little bit of a stretch between them, then that just makes the whole thing a lot worse. So, for example, in the left hand, what he will be doing is starting with finger 5 on C, and then going to E with finger 4, and then finishing it off. So F, G, A, fingers 1, 2, 3. And what he will then do is resolve it to D, repeat that, resolve to E, repeat the pattern, it's the same pattern, to F, and he will just progress up, which is exactly why Hanon is a little bit more interesting. Now, if you do that exact same idea with the right hand, what you'll notice is that the right hand doesn't strain, because in that pattern, the fingers 4 and 5 are doing G and E, so there's no stretch. The only stretch is between these two fingers, which, you know, they get very, very, very well accustomed to stretching anyway. So this is not really anything to the pianist. You can do that off the bat, you can do that virtually without practice. But what happens is he gets to the top and he switches it round, so that what now happens is that you'll start on the G with finger 5 in the right hand, and then you'll put the stretching down to E with finger 4, and you'll repeat that pattern going down. And similarly, the left hand now is doing that same sort of pattern, but in much more comfortable fingers. So really what it's doing is it's ensuring that both hands are getting a workout. So what you need to do is make sure that you practice this slowly to start with, and you practice it hands separately where possible, or hands separately if possible, because it can be very, very tempting to just go straight into it and just kind of go, okay, yeah, let's see what we're doing, you know, hands together. We're very well accustomed to playing hands together, so it's very, very well within our nature as pianists to kind of go, okay, let's go straight to the hands together thing. Not necessarily the thing you want to do with these sorts of exercises. And what you want to do is set your metronome, start it slow. What they actually recommend is that you set it to 60 first, and then you gradually increase the speed up to 108. And we're in 2/4, and he's writing these in semiquavers. So let's give it a go. Okay, so I've set my metronome to 60 now, so this is going to be the absolute slowest. So let's have a listen. So we would be counting 1, 2, 1, 2, and he's in semiquavers. So what we're going to do with the left hand say is, and of course what happens is as you gradually start to get farther and farther through the book, what he says is add the exercises together. So play through it and then play immediately through to the next exercise and the next one and the next one and the next one, and just keep it going through like that. I'm not going to do the exact same thing in the right hand now, but what I will do is just gradually increase the speed a little bit and put the two hands together. So I won't go all the way. Let's see what this is now. This is on 100 now. So we're actually only 8 beats per minute off the real thing. Now, there are two ways that you can sort of look at progressing this. What you can do is you can either start at that number 60 beats per minute, and you can progress it up gradually. But some people, and it is actually very, very effective, what you can do, and this applies to all exercises, so Schmidt and your scales and everything else, what you can also do is you can use the hot and cold treatment, I suppose it's referred to, which is basically where you start slow and you establish a safety net, if you like. So for example, if 60 beats per minute you can do it absolutely perfectly at, you kind of go, okay, do it at 60 beats per minute and then go up to the maximum that you want to do it at this stage. So maybe not necessarily 108 to begin with, but if you say maybe 90 or 100 beats per minute, and then see how it goes. Now, if it all falls apart, what people's first instincts to do is to gradually start to decrease it. And that can work, but the problem is, you'll know this from when you've played through something, and if you make a mistake, that mistake kind of gets a bit learned and a bit lodged in there. So what happens is you start to make exactly the same mistakes every time, so that when you do get back to 60, you're still making the same mistake. So what you need to do is cancel that immediately, go straight back down to your safety net, number 60, play through it again, get it right, and then increase the speed again. But this time maybe don't increase it so high, and do it sort of like, keep this as 60, then up here again if it's still not right, up here again, you know, but each time alternate it between playing it through that speed that you are comfortable doing so. Much of the exercises throughout the Hanon book, the first one in particular, are very much designed to increase finger strength. So, and also especially whilst doing it in awkward positions, so such as that with a bit of a stretch that we've just seen. But what you'll get is exercises such as that, which will prepare, if you like, for the trill between fingers 4 and 3. Or you get, there's several different, well, there's 20 exercises in this, but yeah, you get other ones like this one, which develops the stretch even further. But all in all, they do a really, really good job of increasing or improving your finger strength and your strength whilst stretching as well. And it's really, really a good exercise to do, or good exercises to do alongside your scales. When you get into the second book of Hanon, what happens is the individual pattern lasts for a whole 4/4 bar rather than a whole 2/4 bar. So effectively, whereas you were counting 1, 2, 1, 2, you're still in semiquavers, but you've got sort of twice as much to think about before you move up sequentially. So you've sort of got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. But what happens, interestingly, about halfway through the Hanon second book, just over halfway through, in fact, it does a few little exercises whereby it encourages you to put fingers under one another. So, for example, the first one is based around turning the thumb under the second finger. So what you do is you do this exercise. And all that is it's fingers 1 and 2. And it's fingers 1 and 2 for the whole thing. And what you do, if you put the two of them together, you literally just use fingers 1 and 2. Such as that, and then you come back down obviously in a similar way. I missed one out there at the top there, but you come back down in a very, very similar way. And it works similarly in the exercises that come after that. You know, there's a few where it's sort of turning the thumb under the fourth finger, and what you'll get is a sort of, you do this, but you do it with fingers in the right hand, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 under, and then back to 4, 3, 2. And similarly in the left hand, it's 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So, and then obviously move up. And this is a really good thing actually, because it really does help you with pieces of music when you see fingering on the score, particularly in late classical and romantic pieces, whereby you try playing those fingerings and you kind of go, oh, surely there's an easier way to do it. But this means that you don't necessarily have to think like that. It sort of puts you in a good stead for actually playing those pieces. Now, interestingly, Hanon does go on to have a whole section dedicated to the 12 major and the 12 minor scales. So, like, this is book 2, and exercise 39, the whole of exercise 39 is dedicated to the major and minor scales. So it's like, this is C major, A minor, F major, D minor. It just basically goes through it all. Now, if you're practicing Hanon, I would still advise you to keep the other exercises as your Hanon, designated Hanon exercises, and do your scales separately. And then he goes on to do his diminished sevenths as well, and arpeggios as well, and there's also chromaticism prior to that. But yeah, definitely worth looking into Hanon. A bit more accessible than Schmidt, because they're much more pleasant on the ear, and they're just much more pleasant to play. They may be a bit awkward at first, but they're just generally much more pleasant to play first off. You know, Schmidt takes a lot more getting into the swing of it.